success is very much feeling that your needs are met.
I'm Sonya Morton-Firth and you're tuned in to the Sonya Morton-Firth Show. Today my guest is Angela Middleton MBE, the #1 careers, fitness and business expert, dubbed the career queen by the press.
They couldn't believe that a 55-year-old woman had transformed her body like that.
In this episode, Angela shares her practical guide to looking 20 years younger. Trust me, you won't want to miss this one.
I look a lot younger than I actually am. I've just turned 61.
She also talks about the mindset that is needed to overcome stress and adopt a healthy lifestyle.
Came from a very ordinary working class background. I had this real desire to do well.
And we unpick what it means to be spiritual.
Your mind has to be aligned with your body, and it really was like a sort of light bulb moment that, you know, this is a machine.
Angela, welcome back to my show.
Oh, thank you, Sonya. Nice to see you. Looking fab as always.
Oh, so are you. Angela, can you believe it's been 3 years since we met and did that face-to-face interview? It was sort of during that space in lockdown where we were allowed to see each other. I think we were actually distanced.
Because it was empty, the office, wasn't it?
Yes.
You know, that was probably one of the last times I ever went into that office. I mean, obviously we didn't know that then, but I mean, God, it seems like a lifetime ago.
Gone so fast. And
I remember being in gym kit then, and I'd not had my hair done. Eyebrows.
I definitely encourage people to go and listen to that episode as well. I also watched a really interesting interview with you, Angela, and your son, Stephen Middleton.
Yeah.
I watched it on YouTube and it was fascinating. Again, I'd encourage anyone to go and watch that to really get into your background. It was really fascinating. But for my audience who maybe hasn't tuned in to our previous episode, could you give me some of the key points, Angela, to you in your journey that's led you to who you are today?
I mean, my son asked me some similar things actually, because that was only a couple of weeks ago, and he's 31, and it's really interesting because he said to me at the end, he said, "Oh, I really didn't know some of that stuff." You know, it's funny, that's my own son, you know. And we talk a lot about business and everything, but I found myself telling him about the 80s, and you know, he was really shocked about when I told him things like the sexism that went on, you know, and I gave him a few examples. You can hear it in that podcast, and you could see him sort of go, "Oh God, really?" You know, he was really shocked. The things have changed a lot. So as I said to him in that, you know, I'm I think quite a lot younger than I look a lot younger than I actually am. I've just turned 61, and
amazing.
You know, like you, I'm very interested in longevity, and I sort of started that process, I think, well, almost exactly 7 years ago, because funnily enough, I pulled up a video to show my current trainer this morning of when I very first stepped into a weight training gym, and it was nearly 7 years ago, trying to do an RDL. And
not the easiest of moves to start.
No, not when you know, it's quite one of the, and being a trainer now myself, that's one of the things that, you know, sometimes people really do struggle to get. But anyway, in a nutshell, I've had, you know, quite a long career. Being 61, I came from a very ordinary working class background. Mum and dad, 2 brothers, Southeast London. The first one to go to university, and the only reason I went was because I was sponsored by my first employer, BP Oil. I got a job with them at 18, and I only, you know, applied to them because you know, they had the word British in, so I thought it must be a big company. I had no careers advice of any sort, and it was also a surprise to everybody that I'd got my A levels as well. I just was one of those very hard-working little kids, you know, in a very rough school, actually. My mum always says, you know, the school was very rough, but I was always sort of all done up. And I think that came from my dad telling me that if I didn't work hard, you know, I wouldn't get a good job. And I had this real desire to do well, a competitive spirit, I suppose. And so I joined BP Oil at 18, and they sponsored me to do a business degree. And I was with them for about 10 years, during which time I did all sorts of things, IT, sales, marketing, and was fast-tracked through, you know, their they called it high potential, you know, management thing. But after about 10 years, I knew that I wanted to have children. At that time, you couldn't take maternity leave unless you'd work for someone for 2 years. So I thought, right, I need to go and work for someone else because I don't want to be work all around the country. So I went and worked for the Woolwich, which was became Barclays. I worked with them for 10 years. And at the end of that 10th year, I remember I was reporting at board level, very much IT at that point. And I remember looking at the chairman one night. He looked really tired. I had a better car than him at that time, which for some reason that sort of stands out. I remember that. And I thought, I don't actually want your job. And if I don't want your job, and I was 39 by then, I had 2 children. I thought, I may as well sort of change. And so I left thinking I'd go back as a consultant into the banking industry. But actually, to cut a long story short, I ended up starting firstly a recruitment business. And then that morphed into all sorts of things as the years progressed. And I had that business and it became a group of businesses in recruitment, training, apprenticeships. We had O2 boxes and boxes at football stadiums and that. So we had an events arm. And had that for about 20 years up until the point where we had our interview in lockdown. And but just pre-lockdown in about 2018, having got very fit myself and, that catching the attention of lots of people, including the newspapers, because they couldn't believe that, 55 then, a 55-year-old woman had transformed her body like that and was running a business and had children and all the rest of it. But I became very passionate, like you are, about fitness. And I realized then it really was like a sort of light bulb moment that, this is a machine and we can't do all the things that we want to do, i.e. as business people, create businesses, create wealth and everything as effectively if this machine's not working properly. And so I came up with this brand, Your Body Means Business. And that was in 2018 as a passion project. And I'll go on to tell it, but during lockdown, I was asked by a company if I would train some people online and I did it from my garage, and there were thousands of people online. And here we are today, and that's my main activity now, that business. But it's moved much beyond physical training. It's business coaching, it's mindset training, and we've got a whole variety of programs, and we work with individuals, but primarily corporates and their staff. And very much advocating, the whole body business connection. And that was actually something that I had launched in the House of Commons in 2018. I called it the Limitless Manifesto. And I talked about the fact that midlife individuals, we should be giving them more attention because there's so much potential and they could bring so much to the country and so much to employers if we would just give them the chance of getting fit and recognizing their worth and reskilling them to do different careers,
Wow, Angela, I mean, you've had an absolutely incredible life, and there is so much to unpack in all of that. In terms of, I guess, you're a very, very successful woman. How do you sort of define success in your own mind? And sorry, go on.
Well, how do I define? I mean, I suppose success as you get older, we realize that there is a lot to be said for peace of mind and happiness. And so I think first and foremost, I do define success as that very much now. When I was younger and even up to sort of pre-COVID, I think I would have defined it very much. And I still do, don't get me wrong, but I would have defined it. This little doggy, she wants to get my lap. She can't. I do define it very much as first and foremost, you've got to be happy. You have to be doing something, I think, on a day-to-day basis, which is aligned to your needs, your human needs. And as I've learned over the years of progress, and I think you do Tony Robbins stuff as well, he talks about 6 human needs. And, and they range from sort of, variety to security to, significance and love and connection and contribution. And if you find that you've ended up building something or you're doing something and you're putting all your energy into it and then you don't feel sort of happy and successful, it's because somewhere along the line, those things have not ticked those needs, they've not ticked those boxes. Maybe they've given you lots of variety and you wanted security. Maybe they've given you loads of significance, but you wanted love and connection. Maybe you've been able to do lots of impact and contribution, but you have no security. So you have to be very mindful, I think, of all those. And once you know what those needs are, you can then structure your goals in such a way. So I think success is very much feeling that your needs are met, and that's different for everybody.
And how do you think your mindset has impacted your various different lives? Say that your health, your personal life, and your business. What sort of mindset have you had in those areas?
Um, I've worked on my mindset a lot. To be honest with you, I think that I sort of went in stages. So as I say, when I was at school, it was very much, must work harder. I must get a good job, and I guess that inwardly that would have made me very anxious as a child. And I was an overworker. I worked really, really hard and did all my mum said, never had to ask me to do my homework. In fact, she would say to me, "Come on, you need to stop now." So I was very much like a hard worker, over prepared. Um, when I was at work, when I started a business, it was very much ask, if you want something done, ask a busy person. I was one of those. I would always get stuff done. And again, I always wanted to overperform. That's why I sort of did very well in the corporate world, because I just was first in, last out, did all of those traditional things. And so then, but sort of midlife, 52, 53, 54, things do catch up with you. I was having success. The business had sort of, it went through times of, it would jump up and then it would stagnate for a few years. And when I look back now, I didn't feel like it was stagnating. I always think that was because it was at a level that I wanted it to be, sort of thing, so it sort of sat at 2 million and then it jumped up again, and it sat around about sort of 7, 8 million, and then it jumped up again. And at its peak, it was turning over about 13, 14 million. And it was very profitable, and it was valued at over 30 million just pre-COVID. I can tell you that story if you want. Um, but I think in about 52, 53, I was felt physically like I was slowing down, and I bought into that whole idea that that's what happens as we get older. We get, not only do we look a bit softer and a bit, sort of older, and our body's not quite the same, but also I bought into the idea that, of course we feel a bit tireder now because, everyone retires at 65. So you're bound to want to feel, slower. But I resisted it. I didn't like it, and but then when I sort of found weight training and a different way of eating and just a different lifestyle, and my body sort of snapped back, and I felt sort of boundless energy, jumping out of bed at 4 a.m. and all of that. That was a light bulb moment. So that was the first thing. It was sort of like, you don't have to just push, 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 because you can, if you get your body in a great state physically, one, it helps your mindset, but then your business or your whatever it is you're trying to do starts to flow. The business started to grow almost, and I wasn't spending as much time on it, and things just started to really come into place. It was really become a lot easier. Now, that was the first thing, but then I realized that even that, you can only go a certain way with a great body, but you have to have your mind in gear as well. Your mind has to be aligned with your body. And what I mean by that is your mind needs to be fit, strong, progressing. It's almost like progressive overload, as we call it, for the body, but for the mind. And to do that, you have to allow your mind to, well, you have to choose your thoughts. You have to break old patterns and create patterns that you want, patterns of thinking, and focus on things that we know, working on gratitude, wanting, concentrating on joy, the joy in small things. And what I found is when I did that type of mindset work, I had another period where everything sort of came together, and things were sort of growing, and it seemed sort of effortless. So yeah, that's been the sort of the journey that I've gone from sort of doing to feeling, physically, to thinking.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Now, I'm guessing, or some of our audience may be listening to this thinking, well, it's all very well for Angela to say that. She was a successful businesswoman, had the time, the money to then focus in on the mind. What would you say to somebody that's maybe listening to this that is struggling to,
Yeah.
I hear it all the time, and it's like this, well, I just don't have time to
Mm,
focus on my body. I'm working 24/7 on my business, or
yeah.
I'm doing the corporate life thing where you're in work at 8, finish at 6, and then there's nowadays you're still in communication with your boss, so it becomes a
Yeah.
sort of 24/7 thing. Is there any advice that you could give to somebody if they're struggling?
Well, I think so much of it is I could go straight into time management strategies now, but that's not going to help those people because those people have got, they need to be thinking differently. I heard someone say the other day, and this is, I thought this is such a great analogy that imagine, you were given a car on your 17th birthday and you were told this is the only car you're ever going to have forever and ever and ever. I mean, you really would look after it. Same with anything. If I gave you now a coat, and it was going to be the coat that you had to have for the rest of the, I mean, fashion aside, it would be the thing that you would look after it, wouldn't you? We've got this one body. I can't believe that people don't look after. Well, I can believe because I was one of those, but it is our only body. It's the only vehicle that we have to carry us through life until we die. And so it's surely got to be at least as much priority as our house, our car, our coats, our clothes, and we find time to look all after those, don't we? Same with our children, we look after our children, we look after our animals. And yet, for some reason, people think it's okay to neglect our body. So I think when you start thinking that this is the most precious thing that we have, I mean, I had a sore throat, a virus and a sore throat last week. And as soon as you don't feel 100% well, it's the only thing you can think about. You're not thinking about the things you want or what other people may think. You're thinking about your health. And I think people that have never experienced being in tip-top fitness, they have no idea what they're missing. And when you get there, and so many of my clients have said, oh my God, I wish I'd done this earlier. I can't believe I spent so long not being super fit. So that's there's two things really there. There's like the stick that I'm beating you with to say, look, this is the only body you've got. But there's the carrot that I'm dangling as well, which is to promise that you will just, everything else, the conversations with your boss, the 24 hours that you say that you're working, all the things that you're having to do, it will all become easier and more enjoyable as well if you have a fit, strong body. And this is nothing to do with getting a six-pack or biceps, although that's a happy coincidence. It's about how you're going to feel. You'll feel confident, you'll feel happier, you'll feel more alive and awake and energetic. And that you'll draw more people and more opportunities to you as well.
I mean, I'm nodding very much outside and on the inside,
Yeah.
completely with that. And look, you're an absolute inspiration to everything that you say. You're walking the walk. You look absolutely amazing, Angela, for 60, and I know all the hard work that you've put in as well. Can you share some of your, I guess, your specific or maybe favorite diet, supplement, and training techniques?
Yeah, I mean, because now I've sort of spoken to you about how to think. Well, obviously, then we do have the realities. Okay, all right, then, Angela. Well, I agree with you then that I should do something, but I'm still working 24 hours a day. How the hell am I going to do it? And firstly, there are lots of little ways that you can do it. I mean, firstly, you just have to drink. So every time I'm at a meeting, I've got water next to me, and I'll try and drink it by the time we finished, or definitely before I put the laptop down. So you hydrate your body. It's just like one of the miracle things. It's so easy to do. So drinking water, it doesn't have to be any type of water. It can be sleeping. I mean, getting into bed earlier than you maybe want to. So shall I watch another episode of whatever? It's 9:45. No, go to bed. Go to bed, go to sleep. Trying to get to sleep before 10 o'clock means that you're much more inclined to be able to get up at 5 o'clock. Because you're going to have 7 hours, and honestly, getting up at 5 o'clock is going to make a big difference. Yes, I get up sort of. Normally there's a 4 in the number, but 5 o'clock is probably a couple of hours early for a lot of people. And during that couple of hours, you can do things that will completely transform your life. And if you haven't found any time to do any exercise, that's the time to do it. I'll tell you my routine in a minute, but people are thinking they don't have the time. I'd say just get it done early. And it doesn't have to be a full go to the gym, do an hour. You can do a workout from home. You can do a really, really effective workout from home. And like I say, when I wasn't well last week, I had this sore throat. I sat at the desk for a bit and I just jumped up and did a 7-minute workout. There's a little app called the 7-minute workout. And it gets you to do 14 exercises, 14 times 30 seconds, bang, 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 bang. it's bloody exhausting at the end of 7 minutes, you know. And if you're not someone who's exercised before, then going and just doing some walking and counting your steps and trying to get to 10,000 by doing 3 short walks, making a point of even walking around the house, walking up every single flight of stairs that you come across instead of getting in the lift, walking up an escalator from the tube instead of waiting, you know, just taking every opportunity to walk and doing a quick 7 minute workout. I mean, that's a way to start. And then, you know, buying a program, obviously one of mine, if you want to. But there's a multitude of different programs if you don't want to go to the gym, where, you know, we would teach you to train from scratch at home. And in half an hour, if you get up at 5, you do a bit of journaling and stuff and have a coffee, you do a half an hour workout at 5:30 till 6, you know, you've still got like a really, really great day and you feel so different because you're now in control. Then you can have some form of nutritious breakfast, get some protein in, and that can be, you know, a whole variety of different things. I'll go into, you know, what I have if you want. And you've set yourself up for the day. So I would say get these things done early. Now, I've had clients who've, you know, traveling all over the place. They've got young children. A recent client, you know, she's very, very high up in a corporate. She's got 3 little children under the age of 5, I think, and you know, a very, very busy husband as well, who's also got a big job, and she has still managed to do it, getting up earlier, fitting in, you know, gym stuff and walks and things at lunchtime, you know, and if she can do it, I mean, you know, we all can.
Now, Angela, talk us through your routine. I think that would be really interesting. I think
Yeah,
I mean, I love a good morning routine, and it's
yeah.
you know, let's hear yours.
Well, I mean, obviously now this has become more of my business, even more of a passion. So um, my routine is pretty extensive. And so when I describe it, I don't want people who've not done it to say, oh, see, you know, it's going to be impossible because I couldn't do that. But mine started very much like I've just described, you know, and when I did my transformation, it was a question because don't forget, I had that big off. Well, I had 14 offices. You know, I had 130 something staff. I had a million meetings that I had to attend, and you know, it wasn't none of them were on Zoom. It was all face to face. That meant I was doing a lot of traveling, and so I used to do that. I used to get up early. I used to go straight to the gym, do a workout, come back, feel much more invigorated, have a shower, eat something. I'd still be in the office before 8 o'clock. So you know, and still 2 children and all the things that, you know, we all have to contend with. But now it is different. Because I do a lot of mindset work as well. And I'm actually, I don't know if I told you that I've now trained with Joe Dispenza to teach his work as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get
I'll
on
tell
to
you
that.
about.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love, yeah, Dr. Joe. I'm dying to do one of his workshops. I know he's
Oh yeah.
quite difficult to get on, but yes,
Oh
definitely.
no, they're amazing. I'd highly
Amazing.
recommend. And now I've done this training, you know, I've incorporated it into the programs that we teach, and also actually officially deliver his programs as well. I trained with him personally for a couple of days, and so it's been very, very enlightening, and it's really changed my meditation practice. So my routine is. I get up. There's like a 4 o'clock in the number usually. So before 5 o'clock, I will just make a coffee, and it will be black coffee with some ghee, some MCT, and some collagen protein. I'll sit down. I've got a sensate. I don't know if you've come across a sensate before, but you know, it sort of vibrates the vagus nerve, which is meant to be very calming.
How do you find that? Because I've been
I
reading
really like
about
it.
it. It's
Yeah, I really love it actually. I mean, you just put it there on a string, and it's on for about 20 minutes. And I put this thing called the sound of silence, and during that time, I just do a bit of journaling. And the journaling can be all sorts of things. I mean, it's what we teach in terms of, you know, different types of meditations, and but it can be identity based, it can be goals based, it can be, you know, what do I want to think, and how do I want to act, and how do I want to feel. So it goes through stages really, but there'll be some journaling, and then I will go to the gym. And now my gym is, you know, pretty high tech now because it's in Kensington. I chose it purposefully for that. So I have an hour in an oxygen chamber, and I do an hour's meditation in there. That's where I do the sort of the deep meditation. Then I have 3 minutes cryotherapy in their tank. Then I do a hard workout for an hour. Then I go in the red light sauna for about half an hour, have a shower. Then I walk back, get my dog, walk her, come back, and sit down and start work. Which obviously it's 10 o'clock here with us today, and this is about the time that I would start work. So I would have done all of that. Um,
Well,
and
amazing to think, and it's only 10 o'clock. You've got the rest
yeah,
of the day. Now people might listen to that and devil's advocate say, "Wow, that sounds exhausting."
yeah. Well, it isn't. You know what it is it's actually invigorating, and but that's my Monday to Friday, and then and I don't normally train on a Wednesday, so try to train 4 or 5 times, but Monday, Tuesday. So on the Wednesday, I don't actually train. I might do some sort of incline walking on a treadmill or something, and then Saturday or Sunday, I will train, but not always. So I do 4 or 5 training sessions, but I'm always done by about 10, and that's all the journaling, that's all the meditating. Now obviously there's an evening routine as well, so I try to get to bed, early-ish, do some gratitude, put an audible on or something, and then try to be asleep.
What time?
We try to get into bed before 10, and try to be asleep just after 10. So I average just over 7 or 8 hours sometimes. But my resting heart rate is so low, it's about 45. My HRV is really high. I monitor it on an Aura ring. And but these have all been steps over the last few years. 7 years that I've been very, very focused on health. And food wise, I mean, I can eat very intuitively now, but it was very macro focused, and so you have to get used to the idea of knowing the macros in your food. And when I say macros, obviously I'm talking about protein and carbs and fats for people that don't know. And most people that don't know, and I was one of these, we're not really taught about the protein content of food. So most people, they eat too many carbs and they don't eat enough protein, and protein is the building blocks. So we have to eat protein if we want our cells to renew at a rapid pace, and to feel strong and maintain our bone density and our muscle mass. And muscle is where sugar goes, basically. So, if you're going to consume sugar and you're going to consume carbs, which you should do for energy, you want a place for them to go, because if they don't have muscles to go to, they'll just go and sit on your belly or your bum, or your legs. So, and that's what will happen. And that's when we get, the sort of pear shape, the middle-aged spread and all that we don't want. So if you do some weight training, and you eat some protein, then, you're going to build some muscle, and then that's where the excess sugar can go. And then we need healthy fats, obviously, through things like eggs and avocado and nuts, to promote cell renewal and to make sure the exterior of the cell is really strong and healthy, and that our skin is glowing and everything like that. So I mean, a macro count is ideal at the beginning if you want to be very precise about how much protein and how much fats and carbs. But as you progress and you get used to it, you can think, right, well, I'll always have porridge in the morning or with berries, and I would have had the collagen in my coffee. Then I'll have sort of eggs, and whatever I've got or wherever I am, I'll have something like eggs on toast or something, as a second meal about 11. And then I'll probably have prawns or chicken with loads of vegetables about 2 or 3. And then I'll do that same thing again about 6 or 7. I may have some yogurt and berries. That's about it. So I eat, 4 or 5 times a day.
So you're not doing the intermittent fasting.
Well, no, I try not to eat from 7 in the morning until I actually have breakfast after the gym. And so, it is quite a long time really, because the coffee with the fats and the collagen don't break the fast. And so it's probably about 15 hours, which is long enough for the benefits of intermittent fasting. Yeah.
And in terms of the sort of, do you take supplements? There's so many now on the market, you can't. And I used to be
Minefield, isn't it?
It's a minefield, and I've got to say,
Yeah.
up until a few years ago, I wasn't anti supplements, but I always tried to get as much in my food and whole foods as I could. But of course, now getting into the science and into sort of all this sort of biohacking and the longevity, there are a couple few supplements I take. And I think as we grow older, particularly as women, there are certain supplements that can really benefit us. So it'd be interesting to
Yeah.
hear what your sort of supplement stack is.
Well, I veer between none and some, and I'm currently in a phase of none, because I have my bloods done very regularly. It's one of the things that I was going to say is that, it's such a great dashboard, really, if you get your bloods thoroughly done. And I try to do it every 6 weeks. Because then I've got full blood markers and I can see if I'm low in anything, if I'm high in anything. So for a while I was having bionics, which are bespoke supplements. So they come and take your blood, and they create supplement for you which contains all the things that you need. So if you're a bit low in D, A, B12 or whatever, me for example, my body retains iron. I have hemochromatosis, and that means that you hold on to iron, and that can be really dangerous if you get iron overload. So it's good for me to give blood. So if I were just ploughed in and had a multivitamin with iron, it would have been even worse. And that's why you have to know your bloods. So I was doing that for a while with bionics, and then taking having the blood test every 6 weeks, and then they would sort of modify it. And then I thought, there is a danger with plastic. Once we take plastic into our body, of which the silicone around supplements is some, you can never get plastic out of your body again. There's nothing, it's in there, it is a killer, as that guy was telling us the other day. And so I thought to myself, well, let me get my bloods done with no supplements, and see if there's much difference. And there really wasn't. There wasn't a lot of difference at all. So I'm having, funny enough, another set of bloods done on Tuesday, and that would have been two phases. So it would have been a full 3 months with no supplements. So we'll see on Tuesday. But my go-to is would always have been, regardless of the bionics, fish oil, vitamin D, maybe some magnesium, because that really helps with the vitamin D absorption. I always put olive oil all over my skin. I think taking oil into your body via your skin is a great way to do it. And so so I can either go full on with bionics. Other things I've taken over the years are things like the natural herb gotu kolu, which tightens your skin. I always remember Charles Poliquin talking about that and saying that you can take gotu kolu and you won't think anything's happening. And then all of a sudden, that one day you'll look down at your abs and your skin's tightened up, and that's definitely the case. Yeah. So,
any way you can recommend for that?
You just get it on Amazon. It's only a herb. It's called gotu kolu.
Gotu kolu, right? Okay, might have to put a link to that.
But I haven't taken that for ages. But and obviously, I suppose collagen and whey protein powder. I use that if I'm trying to keep my protein up and I've not eaten enough, fish or whatever. Then I'll have that. But that's it really. I mean, NAD, metformin, all of those. I haven't tried metformin. NAD, yes. NAD again for the skin. I've intermittently taken it. I haven't really noticed much of a difference. HRT I took for a few months. Didn't really notice any difference. No, I mean, all the way through, my cycle, I had the, what do you call it? The coil, I can't think of the name of it at the moment.
The
Marina coil. Yeah. And I just was one of those lucky ones that I just never experienced any menopausal symptoms whatsoever, because by the time, the 5 years of the coil was finished and they did my bloods, I'd actually apparently already been through the menopause and didn't even know.
Wow, that is, because that's one thing that did hit me particularly, actually, in terms of my body composition.
Yeah.
And just the lack of sleep at night and waking up with the hot sweats. I mean, those were the sort of the main things for me. But I had that during lockdown and just assumed it was part of this whole, we're going through weird things. And then I did my research. And funnily enough, I went on to testosterone.
Oh yeah.
Which I found was a game changer for me, massive.
Oh really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny, because I had all three, the progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. Maybe I didn't give it long enough, but I think I felt so good anyway.
If you look amazing and you feel good,
And
then
yeah,
there's
yeah, that I thought, like, what's the point really? But I mean, I don't have views on like never do it. Let me say that way. I'll get my bloods checked on Tuesday. I'll see what they say. If they're all perfect, I will then carry on as I am for another 6 weeks. But I'm always looking at those bloods, and if anything's low, then I'll go straight in and I'll address it. And I will take more bionics. I would take more D. I would take testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, anything. That all I'm interested in is keeping all those bloods green. You know,
where do you go to get your bloods done? Is it
my gym do it, but they liaise with Randox. Randox, I know the COO there. I think they're magnificent. The work they do. You end up with something like this. It gives you a complete biomarker analysis. So and it gives you like all of your. So for example, this is on kidney health. So look, it will give you all your biomarkers, and you can see they're all green. So as long as everything's green, then I see no reason. Like metabolics, they're like all green. Everything's green. And so as long as everything's green, I think, well, what's the point
well,
of
exactly, because
actually changing anything? I mean, for example, the cholesterol is red, but in a good way because my good cholesterol is high. So
same.
yeah, and that's because of diet. So that would be my overriding message to people is don't take the things that we take. Listen to anyone and take the things they take. Just get your bloods done and then change it accordingly.
Now, you did mention, I've just got to veer back on this. You mentioned putting olive oil onto your skin. And
Yeah,
again, what I'm reading is if you look into different makeup products, the moisturizer, even your
yeah,
SPF, there are so many different
yeah.
chemicals and plastics
Oh,
and
I
parabens.
know. Yeah.
What is your beauty regime, Angela? Because your skin is amazing. It looks fantastic.
Oh, well, I don't actually. Thank you. I mean, hydration with anything that you can find, really. I've tried all sorts of moisturizers and things like that. So, body is olive oil. And I just think, I mean, I know it doesn't smell great, but you can just pour it on yourself really quickly. And, it just is really great for your skin. I actually do put that on my face sometimes as well. Um, but just so many different types. I mean, I go to a couple of clinics in Chelsea and have facials, the hydrofacial, had laser genesis, which is like a very light red pulsing light thing. And then that with the hydrofacial they do a lot of extraction and all sorts of different massages and things like that. But I mean, I've had what are the different brands, I can't even think of them, but like Zedo or a whole load of different brands I go, but I try to use the hydrochloric acid,
Mm.
um, serum of some sort, heavy moisturizer before I go to bed, um, like a water spray combined with the is it hyaluronic acid?
Yes, I can never
Never say it.
pronounce it, but yes.
Mix that with a water spray, put that on my face, put a light moisturizer in the day, and then put SPF over the top. I use the Halo SPF. I put it on my arms as well because my arms are very, very sun damaged, from being, in the sun a lot. But yeah, I mean, I just think hydration is the key, and try and not allowing your skin to get burned. And but so much of it comes from the inside of what you're eating, what you're drinking, and you can really change your skin texture. I mean, all my clients, they say that after a period of just a few weeks, not only does their body feel different, but their skin feels different, their eyes are different, all of it.
I think that's it. That was the one thing that I certainly noticed just changing my diet. When I went to this Whole Foods, getting rid of all the processed rubbish and just
Yeah,
drinking more water. That was probably 10 years ago. I had a completely different diet to the one I have today. And
yeah.
certainly I wasn't drinking, when I was in the office at work, I never used to drink as much water. Now I
No,
make sure
same.
that I'm getting it.
Yeah. And it doesn't actually count if you're having it in coffee and things like that. People think, I mean, I've still got some coffee left here, and people think that that's like, well, mainly water, but it isn't. It's actually draining you, isn't it, of hydration. So I do like coffee though. So I give myself a raw. No more. No more after 12. Yeah.
Now, Angela, you mentioned Joe Dispenza, and there is one thing I've been following your journey, and certainly something that's come much more into my own journey, and that's the question of spirituality.
Yeah.
Would you describe yourself as spiritual? And if so, what does that sort of mean to you?
Well, I used to think it was weird when people would talk about hugging trees and, that we're all one and stuff like that. I didn't think that at all. I thought, no, 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 we're separate. But I've done a complete 360 on that. And I really, the more that I've studied the universe, and particularly the way that Joe Dispenza brings it, obviously he's inspired by a variety of different individuals as well. And I love to go back and look at all the different sources. So, if we're talking about spirits and past life regression, all of that, if you go and look at the work of Dolores Cannon, or if you look at the law of attraction, for example, then look at the work of Neville Goddard, or if you look at, channeling spirit voices, then have a look at Abraham Hicks. And I think that he beautifully brings all of this together. So, and also mixes it up with, our biology, our chemistry as humans, and then quantum physics, and actually explains the mechanics of how we can connect to source energy and how we are all one. So I'm one of these that I love to sort of go, I need to understand what is the logic, and so if you start looking at all his books here, ranging from like this one, which is really a really nice basic book of
That's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
And then it sort of goes further on to going a bit more woo-woo, let's say, in terms of how you can connect, to the unknown, and get into a different frequency where there's a different life, you're a different being, and you can go into a meditation and come back as almost like a brand new body, even though you look the same. Different things happen, and suddenly you bump into someone, and that's because you're now in a different time dimension. So my belief now is that we are all one and the same, and that, in just the same way that a tree blossoms and a flower blossoms and grows and is perfect, so are we. That's how we are. And that the universe and the forces in the universe are encouraging us to blossom and be perfect. But for some reason, we've got this capability of stopping that, because we don't sort of believe it. It's like a flower sitting there believing it's not going to grow and stunting its own growth, but as if we let that resistance go, and if we just believe that everything is working out for us and everything is working out in our favor, and all the things that happen, which don't feel like it at the time, the challenges, but they're actually meant to be there so that we do become, like if you look at a tree, the way that it will grow around obstacles, or a flower or a vine or a diamond, that we're growing, and as a result of these challenges. And so I suppose that's how I've become more spiritual, is that I really, really, truly believe that we're all perfect, and we're all one thing, and we're all meant to go on this journey together. And I think I feel like everybody is raising their consciousness a bit. And I love the teachings, of Abraham Hicks, when what she says is that our only job really is to try and focus on feeling good. That doesn't mean going to, the nightclub and taking tequila shots. It means just focusing on the very present moment, loving what you're doing, feeling gratitude for our body and our strength and the people around us, and just trying to really enjoy this life for what it is, knowing that we are that flower growing and going through our cycle.
I've got to say, I really resonate with everything you say. When you can feel your body pinprick, and like,
yeah.
And I went to listen to Dr. Bruce Lipton. I don't know if you know Dr.
Oh, right. Have you? Yeah, I haven't
year.
listened to him, but yeah.
Amazing. And I had tears in my eyes. And then Dr. Greg Braden as well.
Oh, where did you see those two? Yeah.
In London.
Cool, yeah.
Really, actually, they're coming back this year as well. I'll let you know.
Oh, let me know. I'd love to go. Yeah. Yeah.
But you can feel your whole body almost vibrate because
Yeah.
and what exactly just now what you said, and I know we're through Zoom, we're not sitting next to each other,
Mhm.
but I could feel the energy in my body.
Yeah.
And there's one question I was going to ask you because I don't know, I don't think it's just me, but I feel as I've got older, my consciousness levels have risen. I'm more in touch and in tune. And as you say, you attract in and end up talking to people, this level of
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Do you think is it a switch? Do you think it's our age or what?
I don't think it's our age. I think it's just our level of awareness and when we're introduced to it, or maybe when we're open to it as well. Because, I mean, if I think about my daughter, um, I took her to an event, a Joe Dispenza event in Paris at the beginning of the year. But, she works with me, and so she's very open to it. But not just that, but she can really feel the energy. When she has a meditation, she'll feel it even more than I can. I mean, she literally can feel energy coming down and sort of touching her head, and she can feel it everywhere. I can feel energy. I can sort of almost, I think once you are conscious of something, you can start to feel it. Why would you want to feel it? Well, it can be very, very helpful. Let's say, for example, you have a negative feeling about something, you're worried about something. That's really what that is. That's in your energy field. And what you can do is you can identify where it is. If you've got a worry, you can think, well, where is that worry? Where am I feeling it? And you can sort of pinpoint it. Let's say it's here, and you can literally just envisage pushing it out of your energy field and getting rid of it, and sort of and basically, so it's very good to feel it because it can be very practical like that. And you can feel other people's energy if you're trying to connect with someone, or you're feeling that you're not connecting with someone. You can just sort of focus on their energy a bit and start to try to talk to the inner them as opposed to the external them. But why? I think we just each have our own journey when we're open to it. And some people find it easier than others. I don't really know why. I mean, we are all made of the same, we have the same mechanics. And part of Joe Dispenza's work that I think is really fascinating is just how this machine of ours works. I mean, we see something, and, our brain sort of, the front part of our brain will take that information, relate to everything else that's happened in our whole life, see if there's some sort of neural pathway already there, make sense of it, and then go, oh, right, okay, well, this is a scary situation. I need to be worried about it. Could be an email.
Mhm.
And it immediately dumps some chemicals into our body to make us feel a certain way. So, if there's an email that we don't like, it can dump a chemical into our body, which is a fight or flight response. And we're hyper alert as if it were a lion coming to come and eat us, but it's actually an email. And the thing is that our body then gets into a thinking, feeling loop. So we can feel things that make our brain think it. So it's almost like if we're not careful, we do run this program.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, I find it a lot in personal relationships. I think that's where we can all
Yeah.
get triggered the most, and it's quite often not the actual person at that point of time. It's you're going back to a relationship where we're triggered, and it's bringing up all of that as
Yeah.
well.
But I think these conversations now are just so much more common, aren't they? We're so much more open about talking about it. We're all much more interested in what's this other thing. I always have thought that we are capable of so much more, and that we're only using a tiny part of our brain, and we probably could fly and do all sorts if only we tapped into that ability. I've always thought that, and I think yeah, it's just as you learn more, you become more aware of your abilities of manifestation. I mean, we all have these situations of coincidences, don't we, where we think about someone and they ring us, or we think about people and we bump into them. I had a situation even, and I don't know if you know Neville Goddard's work, where he
Yes,
says that you can
love
put
it.
it to a test, the ladder.
Oh, I haven't done the ladder. No, no, but
Well, he says that you can put it to a test manifestation. If you don't believe manifestation, then there's a really simple one. You can think of a ladder, because you're not really bothered about when you next see a ladder. You can really think about it quite a bit and decide what your ladder looks like and how it feels when you climb up it, and then you can just sort of forget about it, really. And but what will inevitably happen? Anyone who's listening to this, they can trial it. you have to give it a bit of a thought. You have to sort of be able to see the ladder. What does it look like? Like mine when I did it was a white sort of metal rattly ladder, like a step ladder. What's yours if you're thinking about a ladder?
Well, I was thinking of a sort of sort of funny enough, a metal ladder, and I was trying to think of where it was leaning against. It was probably leaning against a wall, I think. Yeah.
And if you start feeling it in your mind, what it feels like, and maybe in your mind go up it a few steps,
Yeah.
and then forget about it. And what will happen the next period of time? He said to his class, right, you're not allowed to come back to the class till you see that ladder. And but you're not allowed to think about it either. So that was it. They would go off and everybody would see the ladder. And bloody hell, I remember seeing the ladder. I mean, like I walked into this apartment where I live, and not only was this apartment perfect, it was a couple of years ago, and became available in a really fluky way. But the very first thing that I saw when I opened the door was that ladder. And yesterday, what was really 2 days ago, there's a couple of ladies that I follow on Instagram, business women. I love the work they do, so I follow them on Instagram. And I saw on Instagram yesterday morning that they were in London. I thought, and as I was walking through Hyde Park, because I just saw it, I thought, oh, wouldn't that be great if they come walking towards me and I could have a chat with them? And I sort of very fleetingly said, so come on, universe, bring them, make them walk towards me. But then I put a podcast back on and didn't even think anything of it, completely forgot about it, walked down Hyde Park, came out of the side of Hyde Park, number 1 Hyde Park across the road. And there they were standing there. And
Oh
I had
my
a chat
God,
with them.
that is, and you had the chat with them.
I had to chat with them because they were there, I mean, it's so funny. And
Oh my
I
God.
knew one of them because I interviewed her on a podcast last year, year before last. But so you can, once you see little coincidences, we call it driftwood. Once you have little nudges and you can see, so all that is you're just for a moment you're getting into a frequency where, and you're thinking about something, and it has to come to you.
And then you realize actually the universe is totally working for you, not against you.
Yeah,
And then it's all about
absolutely.
flow.
It
Yes,
will
I
give
love
it to
it.
you. But that's why, not only is there no point in worrying about stuff extensively because it's going to drain your happiness, but also because if you do put too much time and effort and thought and energy into what you don't want, you'll attract to yourself what you don't want. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think our awareness of all this stuff is really increasing, and the conversations like this are increasing. And so, yeah, the consciousness of the world is increasing. There's going to be a walk for the world, an international walk on the 23rd of September, all around the world.
It's
Um,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I've become very, very spiritual. It's a big part of my life now.
I love this, Angela. My gosh, we could carry on doing a whole nother podcast on this.
Yeah.
Um, just looking forward, I guess to your own future. Where are you going now in sort of your business, health, and mindset?
Well, it's about holistic performance. I think I've always been called a social entrepreneur, and I think that the reason is that any business that I set up, it's always to do with social impact of some sort. And I'm so interested, like you are, in raising the consciousness of individuals, particularly midlifers, particularly women. Although I do have some male clients, but particularly business women, and enabling them to sort of have this evolution where we ought to, because we're both interested in longevity as well, and we ought to be routinely living beyond 120. And some are even saying 156, and some people are even, I went to a longevity conference in Montenegro and they were even saying longer than that. But routinely 120, let's say. And so if that's the case, I'm only halfway through, you're less than halfway through. So I'm very interested in people maximizing this second part of their life. And like the people above 50 have got twice the money. They make half the noise of the people below 50. So I really want to promote that age group, but not like the silver-haired saga type idea, but more, come on, like let's make life anything that you want it to. And I want to do that on a bigger impact. And that's why we are working primarily with corporates now, where basically we'll go to the corporate and I would talk to them about body, mind, business, bring it all together. On the business front, it will be helping their executives to align their personal goals with their professional goals. And I'll go in with their management team and I'll do some group sessions and I'll do some individual sessions. So that's a big part of it. And we've had some lovely, 1,000+ in employee companies that we've worked with and that we are working with. But also to make it more accessible to individuals as well. We've created all these different online courses. And we created the very first one in 2018. I still have that very first client, and that was when I was sitting in the Middleton MBE office where you came. And it was a passion project, like I said, and we just did a webinar one night. And I remember, talking about body, mind and business, and she bought it. And we were turning over millions at that time. And I think she bought it for about, I don't know, 1,500 quid or something. And I was literally dancing for joy, And so it certainly wasn't about the money. It was about, oh my God, someone thinks that this is interesting. And then I went and did the speech, for Success Resources, and that was 6,000 people, and everybody reacted really well to that. And yeah, during lockdown, when I last met you for a chat, they asked me if I would train some people online. That was the first online training I did from my garage, and there were thousands on there that day. And I ended up with a big, because they encouraged me to put an offer out there, which was the first, the first sort of program that we sold officially. That was called Your Body Means Business. And loads of people bought that from all around the world. And we've gone on from there now. So we have a body course. I did a live meditation program, 28 days worth of meditation, which we've now packaged up as a program. There's a Careers Queen program, which is for people that work in corporate that want to get promoted. We have a business, start your own business program. There's make this your best year yet. There's 8 modules program for if you really want to reset everything, how to sort of do that step by step. So, and then we're just launching like an access all areas thing where it's subscription that people can pay every month and then have access to all of that. They can dip in and out when they want. And whenever they buy the programs, then they have access forever. If they buy the program, not the sub, then keep it forever and reuse it. So it's just trying to make as much impact as I can, and as I learn, trying to share that knowledge.
So where can people find out more about your programs? Because they sound amazing, and
well, they can find me on at Angela Middleton on LinkedIn and Instagram, and if they go to the website yourbodymeansbusiness.com, all the detail about the programs are there, so they can see all of them there. And I've got another website, Angela Middleton, but that's sort of more generally about me if you want to know some stuff.
And we'll put all of these links in the show notes. So my final question, I guess, Angela, is what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, I think simply that I've helped set an example to people that, that has changed their life. And I have so many clients now that have said, they're so glad that they started this journey with me. It really has changed everything. It's changed their relationships. It's changed, their lifestyle. They're just so much happier. They're making a wider contribution. So there's that ripple effect as well. So, just to have made a bit of a difference, I think.
Angela, you've certainly made a difference to me. I think wonderful, such an inspiration. And thank you for being a guest on my show.
Thank lovely. You. All right. Lovely to see you. Thanks ever so much. Bye from Doggy.
Bye from Doggy.